Hello to family, friends, and anyone else. I'd like to share with you what I have realized. For years and years I was seeking. As a child, I prayed to God, maybe a better person. As a teenager, I prayed to God, please Lord, I prayed to Jesus, I'd like to be more like you. In my early 20s, I prayed, God, I only want you to hold me up. I don't want any scaffolding. I've done a lot of seeking in my earlier years, early adulthood. I was a Christian. I delved into other religions. I sought answers via therapists and counsellors and self-help books. Due to the fact that I was suffering, I never found happiness in the things of this world. I could never find happiness in the music I played or being a musician. Yes, I'm not saying I was never happy, but there were occasional moments. During the summer holidays, I remember saying to a friend of mine, I wish I could be like this all of the time. I was rested and happy. It was probably during August, during the school holidays. Because most of the time I was full of anxiety, self-consciousness, feelings of inferiority, tensions. I suffered for years with profuse anxiety attacks, where I would sweat profusely, and this was very debilitating. As a child, I suffered greatly. So I was always seeking to find something. And I thought I was seeking for love. But however, I realized, due to a teacher, a spiritual master, an enlightened person, that what I was seeking was already happiness. A happiness that's inherent, which is already the case. Let me try and explain that. He would say that our true state, the human being's true state, no matter what's happening around us, no matter who's in your life or who's not in your life, no matter what your present circumstance is, he would say, well, you are already happy. You don't need to seek happiness, because that's your natural state. It's what you already are. In the Bible it says we adults should become more like children. And the natural state of a child, if a child is allowed to be a child, without restrictions, without too many no's, a lot more yeses, you'll find the child is generally very happy. So this teacher called Adidar simply said, find this out to be the case. It's not a belief. Realize that your true state is already happiness. And then when you realize you are already happy, you will stop depending on others to make you happy. Stop depending on conditional life to make you happy. You're not depending on the weather to make you happy. You're not depending on someone looking at you nicely to make you happy. Or you're not dependent on you doing something for someone else to make you happy. or you're not depending on anything whatsoever, even a smile, to make you happy, because you are already happy. And just think of that. If you are already happy, then you're given freedom. You are giving freedom to all your friends and neighbours and family to be as they are, without any demands put on them to make you happy. The way we live, trying to get a tick, like we were still at school, is very childish, very adolescent. 1 minute you are depending on somebody to make you happy, and the next minute you don't want that person in your life because you think you are independent of them all. The feeling of already happiness is that you feel at home, you feel at peace, you feel quiet, you feel still. And in that place of already happiness, there's a joy and there's an intimacy with everything and everyone. Already the case. It's what Jesus had realized, it's what the great teachers have realized, and it's what I have realized. It's not, I didn't wake up today and realize it. I've been in this place for many, many years now of already happiness. And the reason why we're not feeling already happy is because we are living like a clenched fist rather than an open hand. And we're doing this to ourselves, just like I'm doing this now. I'm pinching myself. Ow! So being in that state of already happiness is what I like to share. And those of you who know me will see that I am already happy in your company. You don't have to look happy, because already happiness doesn't depend on any conditions. It doesn't depend on any image. It doesn't depend on what food you're going to have today to eat. It doesn't depend on the weather. It doesn't depend on anything. And that is utter freedom. And then once you're already happy, you can go here, there and everywhere and be happy with everybody you meet. Now, being already happy doesn't mean you are happy necessarily with the conditions of life. That doesn't mean you're not going to be able to change things. But you're coming from that lovely disposition where you're not changing things in order to make you happy. You're changing things because it needs to be changed. When you live from the open hand disposition, you see things clearly. You might have a tendency to want everything spick and span and tidy. That's an emotional dependency. It's an emotional drama. There's nothing wrong with having things tidy, spick and span. Nothing wrong with that at all when you come from this place. It's only wrong when you come from this place, because you're depending on everything being tidy, spick and span, in order to make you happy. You feel better. But already happiness is a condition with a capital C. Your inherent place, your natural state, even if the place isn't tidy. You are already happy for the room not to be tidy. But from that place of already happiness, then you can tidy it. There's a saying, before enlightenment, I cooked rice. After enlightenment, I cooked rice. So it's this disposition that has changed from this to this. This is ego, and if you like, this is God. This is love and happiness and joy. So how can you live a life of love and happiness and joy if you are always dependent on others to behave in such a way to make you happy? How can you live a true life of love and happiness and joy and intimacy if you're putting demands on others to make you happy? How can you live a life of happiness and joy and delight and intimacy if you have to change the conditions of life in order to make you happy? Everyone is being unlawful. Everyone is trying to, you're doing the wrong, Jesus said, love God first before your neighbour. And everyone's got the wrong idea. They're trying to love their neighbour first, without loving God first. And God is this state of already happiness. God is not some childish, imagining an imaginary white-bearded person up in the sky somewhere, taking care of 7 billion people. No. There's no such childish God. That's like Santa Claus, asking Santa Claus to give you what you want. Already happiness is a so responsible, so mature place to be in. When you're looking for others to make you happy, it's an irresponsible condition to live by and live from. So if you are interested in realizing the truth that you are already happy, and you like the ideas, if you like, or suggestions I've made today, then let's form a group, maybe a Zoom group, where we can talk about this and alleviate ourselves from the stress and struggle that comes from living in this disposition. Everybody is dramatizing. Everyone, you are dramatizing right now an emotional problem. You've got an attitude towards the world which no doubt is not good. It's an attitude of selfishness. How can we live an unselfish life unless we are already happy? Everyone is seeking and striving to be made happy. And I've seen, I'm getting older, and I've seen so many elderly people still striving to be made happy. And when I was younger, I used to think surely these older people should know by now how to live. No. We get more and more contracted, more and more withdrawn, more and more no one loves me, feeling sorry for yourself. So we need to be re-educated. We need to find right now that you are already happy. Then you can enter into my life and other people's lives from a love disposition. So thank you for listening, and maybe you understand what I'm saying, maybe you don't, maybe you understand a little of what I'm saying, maybe you haven't got the desire to become already happy or to live from that disposition. We all know what it's like to be already happy. We all know what it's like to be elated and ecstatic and joyful and intimate. But these moments come and go. I'm talking about a stability, a constant. So no matter where you're going, no matter whom you're with, no matter what you're doing, you are in that disposition of already happiness, which is joy, delight, love, patience, tolerance, is already the case. Unmade, was never born and will never die. Thank you for listening, and bye-bye for now. It's called enlightenment. Da, 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 boom, 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 boom. Do, 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 do. Come and sit with me quietly. No drama, just happiness. With a capital H, unmade happiness. Where you feel God, the Spirit, love living you. You really do feel this essence. Sorry, I've got more to say. As we all know, water is wet. Wetness is water's inherent state. You see, you've got water and you've got wetness, but you can't separate the two. Water is wet. The human being is already happy. That's its inherent nature. It's not anger and aggression and doubt and stress and tension and concern and tightness and emotional problems and seeking and striving and discomfort and fear. It's not all of that. That all comes from this place. It's horrible. Ooh, to live like that. It's awful. That's how everyone's driving on the roads. Everyone's going like this, everyone. I drive, but I'm already at home wherever I am. I haven't gone anywhere. That's the whole point of being already happy. You don't go anywhere. It's a constant. It's stability. It's maturity. As I said, I didn't wake up this morning having realized this. I've realized it years ago. But it takes time to become constant and stable in that position. It takes time in order to share. So hopefully you will have found this useful, and if you're interested in living a more enlightened life of happiness and joy, then please do come to me. Thank you. I have no issue with anyone. Have you got an issue with me? I thought I'd finish, but let me just read a little bit from this book called The Dreaded Gombu by the teacher Davruja. Have you all heard about the dreaded gombu, or the impossible 3-day thumb and finger problem? Ah, you see, nobody tells you about those things except me. So Darby John's talking about this, he calls it the dreaded gombu. Ow! Or the 3-day thumb and finger problem. A myth has been circulating for many centuries now that mankind is diseased, that all beings are suffering from what I call the dreaded gombu, also called sin, maya, ego, suffering, separated individuality, illusion, delusion, confusion and indifference. We're all supposed to accept this diagnosis, realize how diseased we are, and submit ourselves to the local religious hospital, where a father or mother doctor will confirm our disease and require us to submit for the rest of our lives to various regimes for our own healing and ultimate cure. This is the basic proposition of traditional religion, and it begins with the diagnosis of the dreaded disease. Tradition has it that we are all by birth, by virtue of our very existence, even now diseased, sinful, separated from the Great One. What a horror, yes. What an obscenity has been laid upon us through the traditions of society, which, merely because of the impulse to survive as the body and mind, have for centuries required human beings to invest themselves with the belief in the disease and to suppress their own life motion, which comes only from the Great One, in order to fulfill the presumed needs of our chaotic society. I come to tell you, as I stand in the midst of the priests of this horror, that not even one of you is suffering from this disease. It is an imaginary disease, a terrible disease, but altogether imaginary. No one has ever actually had this disease. Not one single being has ever had the dreaded gombu, or the impossible 3-day thumb and finger problem. It has never happened. It does not exist. What is the truth? We are already happy. We live in the divine. The Great One is our very being. We inhere in the blissful, forceful being of the divine, the wonder, the mystery, which is the person of love. This is our situation and our destiny. There is no disease. There is nothing to cure. We are not patients, and we are not parented. We are not children. No dreadful destiny lies before us. There is nothing whatsoever to cure, and so on. I've recorded all of this book, most of it almost finished. It's on my other channel, and I'll post the link if you like to read more about what we're supposed to be, this imaginary disease. It seems real, all our doubts and discomforts and fears and anxiety, they seem real, but no, they're not real. They come and go, it's like the clouds. They're not stable, they're not constant. But our true condition is constant, which is like the sun, S-U-N. Find the sun, already happiness. I think I'm going to finish there now.